Welcome back to episode 114 of the ATD Baseball Podcast. It's time. We have done this for 2 years now, going on our third year. It is time to do division previews. It's time. So, for the next 6 weeks, you'll be hearing hot takes, our division standings, Cy Young Award winners, MVPs of the division, and we're probably going to piss a lot of people off.
I was
We're
gonna
gonna
say, I'm
piss some
sure
people off.
everybody's gonna agree with us. I'm sure.
I don't know about that, but we will definitely try to make your feel. We will try to make you feel good about your baseball team, unless you're like the White Sox or something like that. We can't help you. But um, before we get into that, we have other stuff that we want to talk about. But Kyle, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm doing good. This was something I've been looking forward to all off season. Obviously, when we start getting into the previews, that means baseball is coming up. We are 6 weeks out from first pitch. It's been a while, and we kind of touched on it last week. Like we need our baseball fix. I'm missing the hell out of it. And obviously, like out here on the East Coast, snow is still falling. This shit's annoying. It's gotten to the point where it's like I want warm weather, and coming with warm weather is baseball, so it's perfect. But no, man, I'm extremely excited. These things are always fun because it brings a little bit of like it's not just us going over the recent events going on. Like this is us getting into the 2025 baseball season. The upcoming season, and it's always a fun thing to do. But other than that, man, I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Listen, we are not a basketball podcast, but my basketball team did something pretty effing crazy 48 hours ago.
Absolutely.
So, you know, we have the next great star in LA. And no, I'm not talking about Shohei Ohtani. I'm not talking about Yamamoto or anybody else or Mookie Betts. I'm talking about Luka Doncic. Everybody in LA's got Luka fever. So we are
As they should.
excited here in LA. I told you, LA is the place to be. And, we did have an unfortunate, wildfires last month, but, you know, we're getting off our feet. And I got to say, it's been a pretty good 48, 48 hours for LA. Uh, Dodgers just coming off a World Series win, ruining baseball with all these free agency signings. Um, you got the Lakers getting their next superstar to lead them into the future for the next 10 plus seasons. And Kendrick Lamar swept the Grammys last night and shouting out almost every community in LA while doing that. So they're not like us. LA, we're back on top. This is the place to be right now, damn it. But I'm doing fantastic. It was nice to be at Dodgers Fan Fest over the weekend. Very crowded. I don't want to say I'm disappointed, but uh, I think he would have been better off maybe skipping this year. But again, it's really hard to because look at all the players that the Dodgers brought in, and most of them were there. Blake Snell was there. Um, Michael Conforto was there. You had all these pieces that were, part. Teoscar came back, so it was nice to be there. And like I said, the Dodgers won. So every year we go into FanFest thinking, maybe this time will be different. Maybe this is the team that'll figure it out. It felt different being there after actually winning the World Series. So, um, very, very cool to be there. But it was very crowded. And listen, Dodger Stadium's under massive construction right now, so um, it had to be different. But there was a lot of people there. But again, it was good. It means that baseball and Dodger baseball is around the corner, so I love to see that. We've got before we get in, and like I mentioned, I didn't even think we mentioned the division we're going to preview today. We are previewing the National League East. Completely buried the lead here of the episode. So, and as I'm sure you heard last week, um, we have some strong feelings about some of these teams in the division. So
Absolutely.
uh, we're gonna share that momentarily. But before we get into that, a couple signings here. We got Hassan Kim to the Tampa Bay Rays. We've got Max Scherzer, maybe on his final stop in Canada with the Toronto Blue Jays. You never know. And then last night, Jack Flaherty going back to the Detroit Tigers. Um, we'll start off here with Hassan Kim going to Tampa. Um, just my immediate thoughts. I mean, listen, again, I don't think Padre fans probably weren't confident that they weren't going to get him back anyways, but it's another blow for San Diego, man. Like, it sucks. Like, Hassan Kim was a fan favorite in San
Yeah.
Diego. Manny Machado, that was his best friend, apparently, what he said. Very popular in that clubhouse and very popular in San Diego. And he, had he not gotten hurt this past season, he would have been in for a bigger payday.
Hmm.
This contract to me is to kind of remind people of how much value he has, not just at baseball but at his position. Um, good for the Rays. They're doing something. They're spending money, but um, the injury last season kept Ha-Seong Kim from getting a bigger figure. And I think if he stays healthy and he continues to perform like he should, that bigger payday is coming. But for right now, to me, this seems like it's kind of reestablish yourself. And listen, the Rays are one of the best teams of bringing out the best in their players. So good for the Rays and good for Ha-Seong Kim. I don't even think he's not going to be ready for opening day. I don't think. I think he's
I
still going to
don't.
be. I think he's still going to be injured, or he's still going to be on the injured reserve. So, but good for Ha-Seong Kim. Good for the Rays, and sucks for the Padres. It continues to be a bad off season for them.
Yeah. Immediate thoughts when this came out. This is a match made in heaven, man. I truly love this move for the Rays. I really do. Hassan Kim fits Tampa Bay very, very nicely. And you kind of touched on it a little bit. Tampa Bay is a very good place to bridge, I guess.
Yeah,
Really good at bringing guys in, getting the most out of them, and then before their payday comes, well, they just either ship them off or they sign elsewhere. That's how that goes. So for Hassan Kim, this is a perfect place. He's gonna be surrounded by coaches who have done this before, and a manager who is extremely good at his job. I truly do think he's gonna get the most out of Tampa, and Tampa's gonna get the most out of him. I don't see this relationship being long term, but it is something that is good for both teams right now. So I absolutely love this move, and it's seriously, I couldn't have thought of a better place for Hassan Kim to go.
yeah, and you know this that is your typical Rays contract.
It is.
The one person that they gave out a massive deal to, we know how his story ended. You know, so I don't think the Rays are going to be doing that again. I mean, giving out the contract, not touching kids or anything like that. So, or
Jesus.
yeah, or dating 14-year-olds. I meant giving out massive contracts, not the other thing. But
Absolutely.
it's gonna be a while before the Rays give out another big contract like that again. But yeah, this screams Tampa
Yeah.
giving out these small, long, short-term deals. Like you mentioned, it they can flip them if they don't if they know that they're not going to get him back in free agency, and he'll reestablish himself. So it's good for both sides. Good for both sides. Max Scherzer, welcome to Canada, my friend. Hope you like Tim Hortons because that's what you're going to be drinking now for at least the next year. Um, 1 year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Um, listen, I mean, how many years has it been since we've seen Scherzer like actually be a top starter? It's been like what 2 years now, I think.
Around
Maybe
there,
at the
yeah.
end of the Mets, about the end of the Mets. stand or the beginning of the Rangers, I hate to do this, but this screams Kevin Garnett Nets. You know those memes that you see, the Kevin
Yeah,
Garnett with the Nets. This is what it screams to me. But I understand Scherzer is still a pretty good pitcher, and there's
yeah,
probably other teams that could have used his services this season. But
absolutely.
I like it. There's no harm or risk in this. Like Scherzer's a Hall of Fame pitcher. He's still pretty good, even though for his age. And Toronto continues to get a need. They need starting pitching.
Yeah,
So I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see Scherzer. I think now he's going to get lost because
yeah,
one, he's not playing in the main market anymore in America, but um I think Scherzer he doesn't have to be the ace of this team.
no,
He can pitch like one, and maybe he'll turn into one. But it's a need for the Blue Jays. And listen, I heard rumors that the Dodgers were interested, that maybe there was a reunion there. That wasn't going to happen. I could tell you that right now. He's not going to blow out any other of my guys' arms. You know, on a you know one day he's going to wake up. I don't feel like pitching today. Why don't you go out there? Then he blows his arm, and then he doesn't pitch for another 2 years. So, um, again, there's no harm or risk with this. It's just a 1 year, $15 million contract.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with this, and that's now two guys in your division that you're going to be seeing: Ha-Sung Kim and Max Scherzer now.
Yeah, no, it is, and I have to say, I think I'm a little bit more worried about Hassan Kim in this situation, because of how well that pairing is. But Max Scherzer, man, I mean, he's a for sure Hall of Famer. This is a guy who, yeah, he's way past his prime. This reminds me a lot of like the Justin Verlander signing. Um, you're hoping to get something back of what he was and kind of like tap into like whatever he has left, but it does address a need for Toronto. They need starting pitching and need guys who can, go out there for 5+ innings. And if Scherzer's healthy, he's gonna do that. That is the type of guy he is. That's the competitor he is. Um, and there's not enough to say about Max Scherzer. He's just the biggest thing is that great pitcher, Hall of Fame pitcher, but he's just a little bit past his prime. So, if anything, like I'm big on the veteran leadership. I really am, and I think he's coming in here, and at worst, that's what he can provide. That's the way I look at it. But no, I think it's a good move for Toronto. I don't know about Scherzer, but I think it's a good move for Toronto.
Yeah, and you have to wonder too, like his market. There must have not been teams lining up to sign Max Scherzer
Yeah,
because
which
I don't
is
think he would have taken the Blue. I don't think he would have been in Toronto if there was other teams that were interested in him.
I totally agree with you. I think that does say a lot about where he's at the point of his career, but which it does shock me a little because I still think Max Scherzer is a worthy signing. I really do. Because if anything, it's very low risk and high reward. That's what this deal screams. Um, so and at that rate, I'm shocked that Toronto is where he ended up. It doesn't seem like a good pairing or a good fit, but hey, we'll see where it goes. And um, I'm this is the one move I'm excited to see how it pans out. Ha-Sung Kim, I think he's going to do his thing down in Tampa Bay. The guy who we're going to talk about next, I think he's going to do well. So yeah, Max Scherzer is the one. He's a little bit of a wild card for the moves that we're talking about today.
Yeah, when they read off his Hall of Fame plaque, you're gonna hear them say Toronto, like, oh yeah, he was in Toronto for that 1 year. Forgot
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, exactly. That is the moral of the story here with Max Scherzer.
Speaking of that next guy you wanted to mention, Jack Flaherty coming back to Detroit, and he did it on his own.
Yeah,
A lot of these players are getting more. They're leaking their own contracts now, or leaking their signings.
yeah.
Flaherty put a picture of, I think it was Tupac in a Red Wings jersey, and then his picture. He put his picture of him in his Tiger uniform. So back to Detroit, 2 years, 35 million with an opt out, and he helped us win a championship. I'm not gonna. There's no ill will towards him. Like he came, he was the perfect guy that we needed at the time. Remember, every Dodger pitcher um, was on the injured list. It seemed like, you know. So Scherzer, I mean, Jesus, Scherzer. Well, he did too, but 2021. But Jack Flaherty came in here in August, and essentially down the stretch, he was legitimately the ace of this team, of the Dodgers team. And sometimes in a situation like what the Dodgers have, sometimes the best ability is availability.
Yeah,
And that's what Jack Flaherty did for the Dodgers down the stretch. He took the ball every fifth day. Did he pitch well in every of them? No. There was two. He had two bad starts in the postseason with the Mets in Game 5, and then in Game 5 against the Yankees. But nobody remembers it because of what happened. But um, this screams, if Jack Flaherty has another good year with Detroit, he's opting out of that contract again, and he's going to get another big deal next season. So don't be surprised if we're right back here a year later with Jack Flaherty back on the free agency market. But again, to me, this is a weird one too. Like, again, there was a lot of teams that could have used Jack Flaherty.
yeah,
Now, maybe they weren't in love with the price, but um, I think teams just needed to see it again one more season. I think a lot of these teams just needed to see it one more season. But Jack Flaherty's a good pitcher, and hey, he helped me win a championship. So nothing but love for Jay Flair. I'll miss him because he was a guy from here too,
hmm
and he embraced being from here, obviously. So um, thank you, Jack Flaherty, and he'll be at Dodger Stadium opening weekend because the Tigers are playing at Dodger Stadium against the Dodgers that first weekend in March. So he will be receiving his ring too, and I'm sure he'll get a nice ovation from the Dodger faithful. So
yeah. No, you said it perfectly. I mean, Jack Flaherty is, obviously his time in St. Louis, like he showed what he could be, and obviously injuries kind of derailed it a little bit, and it just wasn't the perfect match in St. Louis, and then ended up going to Baltimore, and then he kind of found a home in Detroit.
yeah,
A little bit. He was very comfortable there, and we saw the best out of Jack Flaherty in Detroit. And then he ended up going to the Dodgers. He did what he did there, and now he's back in Detroit. I think this move for Detroit is one that was kind of needed. I think Tarek Skubal needed somebody to be a reliable number two in that staff, and I think that's what Jack Flaherty is. So I love this move for Detroit. It makes sense, and like you said, like I wouldn't be shocked if we're back here a year talking about Jack Flaherty and whatever team that he may already be on or in the process of going to. Jack Flaherty is a very good pitcher, and I think he has ace like stuff. I just think he hasn't fully figured it out yet. But I couldn't think of a better place than Detroit. Unfortunately, I don't understand like the market with him, kind of like how you were. Um, because I could have thought of a bunch of different teams that he could have very easily been. I guess suited better would be the right term to use, but no. Overall, good for Detroit, good for Jack Flaherty, and I think it gives him an opportunity to show what he's really worth. And I think that's what he's going to do this year.
yeah. So there you have it. There's your three free agent signing updates. Still waiting on Pete Alonso.
It's still
Still waiting on Alex Bregman. We're still waiting on all these guys.
it's going to be interesting
So
because we're probably going to have to mix those moves into this at some point in the next now 5 weeks.
yeah, and unless Pete Alonso signs back with the Mets in the next half hour, he is not going to be a part of this NL East breakdown because he's not
No,
on the team. He's not on
no.
the team. All right, well, waited long enough. Let's get into this. We are beginning with the National League East. Um, all right, I'm not even gonna ask. We'll get it out of the way. We'll work our way up to the top.
Okay.
Let's begin with the Miami Marlins. Yay. What did the Miami Marlins do last year? What did they really didn't do much in the free agency market?
No.
Um, traded for Matt um, Evers from the Cubs. They traded away Jake Berger. Sandy Alcantara is expected to be ready for opening day, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
Um, they're over under, and all these are by BetMGM. So we're not ATD is not the one setting these numbers here. So I don't
I
want
wish
anyone else to. Yeah,
some of these
uh,
are tricky.
yeah, 63.5 for the Miami Marlins. They were just a playoff team in 2023.
Yeah.
And now they've traded some pieces away, and it doesn't look like they're going to be competitive in 2025.
No. Yeah, I mean, this one's a tough one for me because it's like I want to believe in a little bit of what they're doing down there. I do because I
Yeah.
do think there is some solid pieces that they have. Sandy Alcantara has proven that he is a top pitcher in this league when healthy and when on his game. However, there's not much that follows, and what did follow is now gone. So it's very hard to have any faith in this team, and they have not spent a single dollar this offseason. It is very hard to believe in what they're doing. So for that reason, I got to go under on this one.
Yeah, new manager, too. Former Dodgers first base coach. So shout out to, damn it, I have him here somewhere. Clayton McCall. So shout out to him. He was the first base coach for the Dodgers for years. So he's finally getting his opportunity to manage a big league ball club. So good for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an over for me. This this
Is it over?
is I mean, Jesus, I said over. This is an under. Sorry.
Okay.
Caught me
Okay.
there. I was gonna say. Yeah, this is an under for me. 63.5. I just they tore it down after 2023.
Yeah.
They traded away Luis Ariz. They traded Jazz Chisholm. This was just a postseason team. Jake Berger's gone. It's just they're not competing, and the front office has showed you that they're not even going to try this year.
No.
Didn't spend any money, so unfortunately, this is probably a 100 loss team. So this is an under for me as well. All right, now let's us get to the Washington Nationals. What do the
Oh,
Washington Nationals do? You may ask. I'll tell you. They traded for Nathaniel Lau from the Texas Rangers, signed Michael Soroka to a 1 year deal, signed Josh Bell to a 1 year deal, re signed Trevor Williams to a 2 year deal, signed Ahmed Rosario to a 1 year deal, and signed Jorge Lopez to a 1 year deal. And they're over under set 70.5. I'm just going to say right now, the Nationals are building something.
they are.
They're building something. I like the pieces that they are starting to build around there. The first couple years after they won the World Series, and even the last, maybe since 2022, it was like, all right, what are they doing? But Dylan Cruz is expected to be a finalist for NL Rookie of the Year this year. You got James Woods, Keibert Ruiz, another year of him. I know Josiah Gray is going to be starting the year on the injured list, but again, he can, he's a solid pitcher. CJ
Mackenzie.
Abrams, yeah, Mackenzie Gore. They have some good pieces here.
They do.
They're still maybe another 2 years away. Maybe another 2 years away. But I really think Washington Nationals fans should be optimistic.
Absolutely.
They're in a much better spot than the Marlins and some of these other teams at the bottom in the National League. So, um, listen, this is not a playoff team by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Nationals fans should be excited for the future. You should be. And you've seen the front office. They haven't exactly, you know, gotten the big free agent, which I don't think they need to right now, anyways.
No,
But um, and Dave Martinez is still your manager.
I
He
like
can
that.
still, yeah, he can still get you a couple games there too. So
Yeah,
overall, the Nationals are still 2 years away, but I think if you're a fan, you got to feel really good about this team. And I'm
absolutely.
gonna go over for 70 wins. I'm gonna go over with them. This is a feisty team. This is one of those teams when we're doing this every season. They're gonna be one of those teams that, hey, you need the game, but then you got 3 games against the pesty Washington Nationals,
Yeah,
especially teams in the division, like with the
yeah,
Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves. There's gonna be nights like, damn, we really need this game tonight. Like, oh shit, we got the Nationals on the schedule. This is
yeah.
not a layup win. This is not an easy win. So I like over for the Washington Nationals this year at 70.5.
Yeah, I this is going to be a quick one for me. I can't agree with you enough on what you said. I think they are a year or two away. I still think they need some more pieces, and I think they need time for their young guys to grow into the role that they have. But I think what sets Washington aside for me this year is the fact that the guys that they did bring in. I like Soroka and the pitching staff. I love the Nathaniel Lowe trade for them. And Ahmed Rosario, I think he gets pushed under the rug, but I still think on the right team, he can be a contributor. And I think Washington is a perfect place for him. So for that reason, I love the mix of guys they have in there. I love Dave Martinez, and I am optimistic about this group. I think they can make a little bit of noise this year, and I think that 70.5 is just not that number for them yet. So I'm going over here. So I feel confident about this. This is a team that I do actually like. I will sit here and say, yeah, I'm not completely slamming the over, but I'm hitting it pretty damn hard. So for that reason, yeah, I'm definitely going over.
Okay, now this is where things get interesting.
Yeah,
Um, I have 3 teams to choose from here, and I expect all these teams to be fighting for the division. At least I think.
absolutely.
Um, Kyle, which team do you want to go to? Braves, Phillies, or Mets?
Let's uh let's go with Philly here.
Okay, good. I didn't want you to say the Mets, so I didn't want
Not
you to
yet.
say the Mets.
Not yet.
Let's do the reigning a National League East champion Philadelphia Phillies. What did they do in the offseason? They gave Rob Thompson an extent. Yeah, not much. They gave Rob Thompson an extension through 2026. They traded for Jesus Luzardo from Miami. They signed Jordan Romano to a 1 year deal, signed Joe Ross to a 1 year deal, and signed Max Kepler to a 1 year deal. Listen, you heard from Dave Dombrowski earlier in the offseason that the Phillies were not going to go big game hunting. They weren't. He made that very clear from the start of the offseason. And after all the rumors we heard about Alec Bohm maybe getting traded, Luis Castellanos getting traded, they kept their guys around here. They really didn't do much, like you mentioned. They're pretty much, at least with the lineup and most of the rotation, they are running it back with this team.
Yeah.
I It makes sense. Like,
Hmm.
why would you? They won the division last year, and they ran into a really hot Mets team,
Yeah.
and we're out in the NLDS. So, um, their over under is 91.5.
This is such a rough number. I'm going to point that
It
out
is a
here.
rough number.
This is tough for me. This is really tough.
Uh, how many games? I just want to look at the standings from last year. The Phillies won 95 games last year.
Mhm.
That was good enough to win the National League East. I'm telling you right now, I don't think 95 wins is going to do it this year.
Mm-mm.
I really
Nope.
don't. Um, Again, this is a weird team for me because they're bringing everybody back. They really didn't make any moves. Um, This is hard. This is our first hard one of the day here.
This is hard, and I'm and like for me, I'm gonna tell you where like my mind's at.
Yeah,
I have this
please.
division. I have this division set up. I do, except for second and third place. That is where I keep going back and forth
Okay.
over and over and over again. And I'm sure you could probably get an idea of the two teams that I am switching. Um, this is tough for me because we've talked about this off camera a lot. We both feel that Philly's window is closing,
Yeah.
and it's closing quickly. Now, the National League is stacked. It is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
it's not to no fault of their own.
No, it's not. It's just
Like
the fact that
everybody else around you is getting better,
exactly.
and I mean, what are the Phillies? Can't There's not much they can do.
No.
They paid Harper, they paid for Turner. Like what else can they do?
There's really not much that they can do. And the way that I look at this is I'm looking at teams like Arizona being a like a crazy wild card for me. Because do I think if Philadelphia ran into Arizona at the wrong time, yeah, I could see Arizona getting that place over Philly. And obviously the Mets have gotten better to an extent. That lineup has gotten better. Um, and the
Eh,
Dodgers are still the Dodgers. And you have Atlanta getting healthy. Like, this is where it's starting to scare me for Philly a little bit. And I'm looking at this number for the over under. They're going to be playing a lot of National League teams this year, like as everybody is. Their competition around them is getting harder, and they are staying the same. Yes, I love the Jesus Luzardo trade, but he's had injury scares here and there before in his career. I love what the Phillies have, but they didn't add. That's where I'm getting caught up.
bench is
I
not
think
great either.
no, no. And I think I have my answer here. And this is a very, no matter what I choose, it's going to be hard for me because I keep going back and forth. I'm going to go under, and I'm going under because of the competition around them. I think, yeah, they'll get, trust me, they're going to get close to this number. And it wouldn't shock me if we're sitting here 9 months down the road saying, all right, yeah, we're looking back on that and saying, huh, well, that makes sense for Philly. So I don't want to take that away from them, but as where we are during this preview, I'm going under,
Oh man,
and that's tough for me to do. I'm clarifying that over and over again. This is tough. It really is.
I'm gonna go over.
Okay.
I'm gonna go over on this. I'm basically gonna take the opposite of you.
Hmm.
They're essentially bringing back the same team,
Yeah.
and this same team won 95 games in the American League,
Absolutely.
wow, geez, and they won the National League East last year.
Absolutely.
Um, I think there's a lot more certainty now this time around
Yeah.
because you started hearing little murmurs, like I said at the end of the season. Hey, Alec Bohm might get traded here. Bryson Stott might get traded. Nick Castellanos might get traded here. I don't think there is that anymore. So I'm going over. I'm going over. I'm going to roll with the same team that won the division last year. So,
Absolutely.
and
And
we'll see
I
what comes up for them at the deadline, too. Like, I don't know. Maybe they can go big game hunting at the deadline in July. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is tough for me, you could go either way in my opinion. This is such a hard number. It really is. Cuz if that number is off by even two games, you're going to have a clear cut of what direction you want to go. If their over under was set at 88 games, I'd be slamming the over. It's
that's
very
too
tough.
easy, though. That's
That's what I'm saying. That number is very tough. And I want to go with the over. I do. But they just haven't showed me enough in this offseason. And I feel like the competition is just getting harder and harder in the National League. I really do. And that's where I'm very caught up with you know, with the Phillies.
all right. Let's go with the Atlanta Braves. I think you have
I
to
okay,
save the other team for last. I think you do.
absolutely.
What did the Atlanta Braves do? They signed Jerickson Profar, 3-year deal. Signed Brian De La Cruz to a 1-year deal. And that's about it. That's about it. Uh, Ronald Acuna Jr. is expected to miss the first month of the season. Spencer Strider is on track to have a mostly normal spring training. This team, obviously, as we know, was riddled by injuries last year.
Yeah,
A lot of them had them going to the World Series. You know, it was either Dodgers or Braves, you were saying. Um, they, listen, I don't think they can't be that hurt with injuries again, right? Like, that can't happen 2 years in a row, I don't think.
I would hope not.
They they made a great signing with Jerickson Profar. I hate, like I said, I'm happy he's out of my division with the Padres, but it sucks now that he's going to Atlanta, and I
Yeah,
know he's going to play well in Atlanta too.
he is.
He is. Michael Harris is, coming back. Jerickson Profar, you got um, Austin Riley, you got Matt Olson, who Matt Olson had a down year last year.
He did.
He had a down year, and I'm telling you right now, I think Matt Olson's going to have another monster year this year. I really
Absolutely.
think. Um, Marcell Ozuna. If it wasn't for Shohei Ohtani's crazy 50-50 season, he might have been the MVP of the National League last year.
Yeah.
Ozzy Albies was dealing with injuries too all season. You got Sean Murphy in there, Jared Kelnick to at least start the season, and then Cunha come back, and then Orlando Arcia. This is a very good balanced lineup here. And then you have Chris Sale, the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner, and you're supposed to get Spencer Strider back. Um, Probably for opening day, if not a little bit sooner after that. Um, their over under is set at 93.5. They have the highest over under win total of the 5 teams in this division,
Yep.
which goes to show you who BetMGM thinks is going to win this division this season. Oh, man. This this is another hard one. This is another hard one.
It is for me, just because I have my answer. Um, I think this number is one of those numbers that I just feel is not set properly, I guess. Like for me, I feel like I'm okay, I'm just going to take the over. That's what I'm going with the
Okay.
Braves. I've always been high on the Braves since they've been braving baseball, I guess, is the best way to put it. The Braves being the Braves, I have been on this team and I am very high on them, and I'm high on them again this year. With them getting fully healthy and getting their big guys back, I think this lineup is deadly. Truly, it is. And I love what they have in the pitching staff. Like, yeah, they lost Max Fried in free agency, but they're getting Strider back. They have the reigning NL Cy Young Award winner. I don't know if there's many, like, if you're looking at fully healthy squads, obviously the Dodgers are at the top. I would not be hesitant to put the Braves at number two. I truly wouldn't. And for me, this is where I have so much faith in Atlanta getting healthy. And that's what I'm banking on here is Atlanta actually being healthy this year. But I love what they have, man. I truly do. And for me, this is an easy one. I'm taking the over on Atlanta.
Right, you talked me into this one. I'm going over as well. I'm going over as well. Very good lineup. Once they get Strider back, they're gonna have a killer combo. Assuming that Chris Sale, which I think he will continue off of his success in his Cy Young Award from last year.
Agreed.
If Strider is healthy, and if Sale is still Chris Sale, I would not want to see Chris Sale and Spencer Strider in a short playoff series.
Hell
No,
no.
thank you. No, thank you. No, thanks.
No.
If they both stay healthy, that's going to be a crazy. What that might that's a I guess we'll throw
Sick.
a little hot take. We'll go a little hot
Sick.
take out here. We'll go a little
Sick.
hot take out here. Spencer Strider and Chris Sale. I'd say top three, 1-2 combo in the National League.
Easily.
If
Yes.
both of them are right,
Agreed.
that's asking a lot because again, Strider coming off the injury, and I really hope Chris Sale's not a 1 year wonder with Atlanta. I really hope he's still Chris Sale going into
Agreed.
2025, which I think he will.
Dude, I'm on that train 100%. I love Chris Sale as a pitcher. I love what he brings. He pitches with energy, and you know he has passion in this game. The biggest thing for me, he was with Boston for all those fucking years. I couldn't properly cheer this guy on. Now that he's out of Boston and he's thriving in Atlanta in his 1 year in Atlanta, I truly do think that he has found a second home, I guess you can say. Because like I'm not going to take away what he did in Boston. World Series champion. This guy he was Boston. But I think he found a second home in Atlanta, and I think he did extremely well his first year. I wouldn't be shocked if he regresses a little bit because hyping up to that season again. I don't know if he can have that type of season, but he is going to be a very good pitcher this year. Borderline great. I truly do believe that. And I think if Spencer Strider, like you said, is fully healthy and can be Spencer Strider again, yeah, no doubt in what you said. I agree. Top three National League combo, easily, yes.
Um, Before we get to this final team, I don't want to spoil, any of our predictions or anything here, but
Hmm.
um, I'll throw out another hot take here,
Ooh, okay.
just so you can maybe pay attention to it throughout the year.
I do have a hot
I,
take for the Mets too, by the way. I
okay,
just want to
I
put that
think
out
I
there.
do too. I think I do
Okay.
too. Don't be surprised if the Braves and Phillies are fighting for the division going into the final week of the season.
Okay. I like
I
that.
think they're gonna. I think the Phillies and Braves are gonna be neck and neck the whole way through. I really do.
I respect the hell out of that take. I don't agree with it, but I respect it. I will say that.
All right, now, and I've been waiting all off season for this.
Oh man.
Let's
Yeah.
get to the final team in this division. The New York Mets. What did the Mets do? Well, I'll tell you. They signed Ryan Stanek. I guess re-signed technically. They signed Griffin Canning to a 1 year deal. Traded for Jose Siri from the Rays. Signed AJ Minter to a 2 year deal. Signed Frankie Montas to a 2 year deal. Re-signed Jesse Winker to a 1 year deal. Re-signed Sean Manaea to a 3 year deal. Signed Clay Holmes to a 3 year deal. And they gave the richest contract in the history of sports to Mr. Juan Soto. 15 years, $765 million to play for the other team across town in New York City. Their over under is set at 91.5 wins. You got a hot take. If you want to go for it now, you can. If not, you can go another direction.
No, I'll throw it out here. For me, this Mets team was better last year than they will be this year. That is my hot take, and I am sticking with it, and I am running with it. I truly do believe that this Mets team was better off last year than what they will be this year.
I'm I can get behind that.
Okay.
I think I can get behind that a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, I'll throw it out there now. I think this is an under.
Me too.
I think this is an under. Not by
Me too.
much. Not by much.
Yeah.
Not by much. I wouldn't be surprised if they finished with the exact same record as last year.
Yeah.
Um, okay, I have the lineup right in front of me. Here's the lineup that the Mets are expected to roll out in 2025, according to Fangraphs. Francisco, and I'm doing this in order: Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Mark Vientos, Brandon Nimmo, Jesse Winker, Francisco Alvarez, Jeff McNeil, Jose Siri, and Brett Beatty. After you get past that top four, it gets very, very iffy
That's
after
also
Nimmo.
that's also hoping Mark Vientos has the same type season he did last year.
Yeah,
That
and hoping Brett Beatty figures
yeah,
it out here.
truly. And now, obviously, I don't want to throw out a hot take like that without giving some reasoning. Okay, I want to back up what I said. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Juan Soto, right? I don't want to take anything away from Mark
King of
Vientos.
Queens.
I don't want to take anything away from Mark Vientos. I really don't, because I think he's a phenomenal ball player and I think he can be a very good potential superstar in this league. I think he can be. I like Mark Vientos and I like what he brings. However, let's not cut this any different. He is not Aaron Judge. That's what it comes down to. And who did
I
Juan
can't wait to
Soto
clip
have?
this up, man. I can't
Who did
wait.
Juan Soto have batting behind him all year? The guy who broke the American League single season home run record with 62 home runs in 2022. A guy who bats over 300 consistently for the past 2 to 3 seasons. A guy who can bop you 50 homers at least. And he's borderline 60 every single year. This is the type of guy that you have batting behind you. And what kind of year did Juan Soto have last year? A career year. A career high in homers last year. He had the short porch at Yankee Stadium, and he was surrounded by guys in. Now, I'm not saying 1 through 9 that the Yankees lineup was the greatest, because it wasn't. I'm not going to cut it any different. And Juan Soto was a big contributor to this team. However, 1 through 9, I feel that there's more faith in hitters 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and potentially 6 last year in that Yankees lineup. I truly do believe that. Juan Soto had all the protection in the world. He really did. And now he's going over to play with the Mets. And I like the pair of him and Lindor. I really do. That combo 1 and 2 is ridiculous and it is extremely good. I don't want to take away from that. But it is much easier to pitch to Juan Soto now that you have Mark Vientos batting behind him instead of Aaron Judge. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Yankee fan, but if you look, like, there's no comparing the two. You can't compare Aaron Judge to Mark Vientos. You can't. And for Soto, that's the type of team he's going to, and that's the type of guys who he has hitting around him. For Lindor, I could see Lindor having a breakout season like he did last year. He's got Juan Soto protecting him, but after that, there's a big drop off in my opinion. Now, I love Brandon Nimmo. I think he's a phenomenal player, but again, like it's it, postseason. Okay, let's take the postseason. You had Judge and Stanton, and yes, I'm not gonna sit here and say Judge has been phenomenal in the postseason because he hasn't. Everybody knows that. But Stanton turns into a different animal in the postseason. You know, that's the type of comparisons that I'm making here, right? So I don't necessarily love the lineup past hitters 1 and 2 for the Mets. And then you look over to the pitching staff. I'm sorry, it didn't get better. You are relying on Sean Manaea to continue to have ace-like stuff. You are relying on Kodai Senga to be healthy, which he hasn't proved. And you're also relying on Clay Holmes to now transition back to a starter that he hasn't done in years.
That's my biggest concern with the
It
starting
really is.
pitching.
100% it's the starting pitching. You're banking on Frankie Montas. Now, I'm not saying you're banking on him to
Who had a
be
5 ERA last year with the Brewers?
exactly. I don't like their pitching staff at all. And I understand, like, Steve Cohen is willing to spend whatever the hell it takes to compete. He showed that by signing Juan Soto. And I don't want to take away from the positives here. You signed Juan Soto. That's a huge positive, and you
Mr.
got him.
Met.
Yeah, I mean, you got him for years, man. This is a generational player. I'm not going to take anything away from him. I'm not going to act like the salty Yankee fan that he left. I truly, he is a generational type player. And if you can get him on your team, you are automatically going to have a better chance in that spot where he's batting. However, when you look at the pieces around him in that lineup, I'm not necessarily sold on that. And then you go to the pitching staff, and I don't even think that sniffs anywhere type like a postseason type pitching staff. I don't feel comfortable with that staff. I like what they have in the bullpen, and I like the moves that they made for the bullpen, but I can't get over the pitching, and I can't necessarily say that Juan Soto is going to have the same year he did last year. I'm not saying he's not going to bop you 30 homers and probably bat close to 300 because it's very easily that he can. And that's on his own. That's not having protection. Juan Soto doesn't need protection because he'll just walk if he needs to. But is he going to get driven in? Are those runs going to be added up? That is where I'm getting caught up. And you got to hope that you're not down 5-0 in the first inning when it flips over. So that's the way that I look at it. I
Wow.
don't like this pitching staff, man. And I truly like both of us were high on the Mets going into last year.
Yep.
We both were. And I again, I'm going to stick by that take. I truly do believe that they're going to have a worse season than what they did last year.
There's a lot of pressure on Vientos too,
Agreed. He needs to have
and especially if you're not going to bring back Pete Alonso.
yeah. He's
Now
out
Vientos
there.
is one of those that has to step up now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Um, this is not a hot take. I think this is just factual. Listen, the Met fans were doing this last year. They were not going to games at the beginning of the season, and they were turning on the team. Um, I'm gonna be so fascinated. Like I said, we all have these. We have MLB TV. Well, I do. I'm sure. I think you do, Kyle, as
Yeah.
well. So I'm watching every game. All these
Yep.
other teams. The Mets is gonna be so fascinating to me. They're going to be a top three team that I'm going to pay attention to this season. Um,
Absolutely.
I'm telling everybody right now, if you're the Mets, you better get off to a good start. You better get off to a good start here. Because now, coming into this season, after everything that they have done, there is now an expectation.
Oh yeah.
You got to the NLCS last season. You signed the biggest free agent on the market in Juan Soto. You better get off to a good start. Because if you don't, we've seen it. Met fans are going to turn on these guys so quickly. And, if they're 11 games under 500, you can't do that 2 years in a row.
No.
You
Not
can't
with it.
get out of that hole 2 years in a row.
Not with Atlanta being fully healthy, and not
Yeah,
with Philly still being Philly. You just can't.
right. Then, I don't think Grimace is going to rub off again next season.
Jose Iglesias isn't signed.
No, and he's not making another song, as far as
No.
I know. So to me, I really think outside of the Dodgers, I think the Mets are right up there with pressure
Easily.
this season. I really believe that.
Yep.
I really believe the Mets are going to be one of the teams under the most pressure
I
this
couldn't agree
season.
more.
So yeah, we're in lockstep on that. Uh, before we give our division standings here, how about um an MVP and a Cy Young?
Let's do it. I'm excited for this one too.
I have my MVP of this division already.
Ooh, okay.
Let me tell you right now, it is not anyone from the New York Mets. It is not anybody from the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
I'm looking down in Atlanta. And no, it is not Ronald Acuna Jr. My MVP, of the NL East, I think it's going to be Matt Olson.
Okay. That is a very good pick.
How about another one? I'll guarantee you. I guarantee you, Matt Olson over 40 home runs this season.
I like that.
He had 29 last year and he bat 247. I don't think that's happening again. Now, listen, the batting average is not going to be that high, I can promise you. If he's going to hit 40 home runs, he's going to be batting probably 250 again. But
Yeah.
I guarantee you, Matt Olson will be the. Let me do that again. I guarantee you, Matt Olson over 40 home runs this season, and he's my pick for MVP of this division.
Okay. I like that. Oh man, MVP is a tough one. It really is. Although I was just shit talking the hell out of the Mets, my
He's going to
MVP
take
is
Juan
going.
Soto.
I am not. Is going to be Francisco Lindor. I think with the protection that he has now with Juan Soto, and I think with the year that he had last year, I don't want to take away and just say like, oh, he's going to get MVP because votes because of Juan Soto. No, Francisco Lindor can do it on his own, and he's proved it before. Um, I just think it's a little bit of an extra boost now. So for that reason, I'm going Lindor.
And now for my Cy Young. There's so many ways that I can go here with this. There's so many ways. There's so many good pitchers in this rotation. Um, I mean, this one I could go. I could be more safe in this one, but man. Well, you just heard me. I'm not in love with really the Mets rotation. Um, you know what? I'm gonna double down. He was my pick to win the Cy Young last year. Give me Spencer Strider. I think he's gonna have a bounce back year this year.
Absolutely.
He was my pick to win the Cy Young, and I had him in prize picks over strikeouts. And he got hurt 2 weeks in, and I was out of that. So, but I think he's going to be healthy this year, and I think he will be the best pitcher in this division.
I like that a lot. I do. Obviously, it is one of the
I'm
more
loving the
obvious
Braves
picks.
here.
Yeah. This is where things got a little dicey for me. And I don't want to go with the safe pick here. I want to completely
Clay
throw out.
Holmes.
It is nobody from the Mets. I am not double downing on the Mets. But what I am going to do is I'm going to go down to Miami.
Ooh, I was
And
thinking that.
I'm going to go Sandy Alcantara. I hope that he can get back to form and do what he can do and what he's proven that he can do. I've always liked him. I think he's a phenomenal pitcher. Just obviously injuries got in the way. So I'm gonna take Alcantara here.
And now to our division standings. I have mine ready.
I do too. Yes.
You can go first.
Okay.
Or actually, no. You know what? I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first. You I'll let you go last on this one.
Okay.
I really believe. Oh man, this is tough. I think it's going to be the same as last year.
Okay.
I'm
Interesting.
going. I'm going Marlins 5, Nationals 4, Mets 3, Braves 2, Phillies 1.
Very
It's going to be
interesting.
tight though. It's going to be tight though.
Okay.
I don't mean like it's going to be like last. Like I know the Mets and Braves finished with the same record. I think it's. I think 1, 2, and 3 are going to be very close.
Yeah.
I can't get there with the Mets with the NL East. I can't get there with them. I can't
I
get there with them. And the Braves, like I said, I think the Phillies and Braves are going to be neck and neck all season with each other.
Very interesting. So basically the same. Going from 5 to 1, I have Miami coming in at fifth, Washington fourth. I have the Mets at third. I have Philly at two, and I have Atlanta.
Ooh.
I'm I'm telling you, man, fully healthy. If everything goes right this season, I would borderline like I'm confident in saying that I feel like the Braves are the second best team in baseball behind the Dodgers if fully healthy and everything goes correct the way it's supposed to.
There you have it.
There it is.
Our first one.
It did not
And at
disappoint.
least it did not disappoint. Yep. So there it is. National League East. Um, Next week we will do the NL Central.
Oh boy.
Yeah, that's another interesting one. Kinda. Uh, all right. Well, unless you have anything else, I think we're good. I think we're done here.
I think we are done. I feel very good about the first preview in the books, and I'm excited for the rest, man. I really am. This is always a fun time, and I always look forward to these. So I'm very excited. And tomorrow, recording wise,
Yes,
we got the draft coming. That's fun.
absolutely.
Fun, very
We're
fun
gonna
stuff.
get Mike in here
Yeah.
tomorrow, so it'll be the three of us doing that draft. Uh, I don't think people are gonna like our Mets takes.
I don't think so either. I really don't. And I wasn't sure how you were going to take this either. So I'm glad I'm not alone here.
We'll go down to the ship together. This
Absolutely.
that the Mets prediction. That's either gonna be we hit it right on the head, or that's gonna be like, damn, like we completely missed that.
It is. But yet again, that's what this is about, giving our hot takes and seeing how much we can look like we're, go to Harvard or we look like we're don't belong anywhere close to this podcast. So
Exactly.
there is no other way to go. So it's always fun.
All right. Well, NL Central next week, and whatever other hopefully more signings we have, major signings.
Absolutely.
We'll see you next week. Adios.